Hey TV fans, Board Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Paradise Season 2 Episode 7. It's the final countdown. Sorry, couldn't resist, guys. It is the final countdown. It's the penultimate episode leading into next week's season finale. Now, I know the showrunner has said that the third season, which this has been renewed for, will be its final season. Personally, I hope that isn't true, because there's a lot going on in this show, and with the amount of different characters and things happening, for me at least, and the premise, you can have at least 4 seasons of this, and we do live in the streaming age, and they are shorter seasons, so you got 8 episodes last season, you got 8 this. Who knows, they might give us at least a couple more for the final season to give them a chance to round it off, but this show does have a fair bit of buzz, so who knows, it could still get a 4th season. I'm holding out for at least 4 seasons with it, but if not, I am satisfied pretty much with the show as a whole at the moment, so hopefully it'll have a good 3rd season also and stick the landing, if that is to be the last. But yeah, this was a really strong episode, because the last week's episode I had some mixed feelings on, even though it was a solid episode overall. This is a really strong setup episode for the finale, and I'll just talk a bit about the final countdown and the reference there. And this show has a knack of like taking popular big hit songs like that and changing the meaning, or like doing their own. They'll have like a more slower, moodier version of it somewhere in the episode, and they do that here, and that's fine. It actually works in this. So like some other versions that they've used of other songs, I think have been a little bit too heavy-handed, but this one worked really well. And the flashback is all to do with the final days before the bunker gets unveiled, like the last steps towards it. And I know some people have said then to keep showing like Cal Bradford in flashbacks is like flogging a dead horse almost, like we've seen enough of him now and it's time to move on. I actually don't mind, and I do like these flashbacks, because what they show is then his, compared to Sinatra, is that he does seem to care more about the consequences of this bunker, and that he does put some thought into this. And one of the things about his character, which I think is kind of cool, is he does have this kind of flash, like kind of, I wouldn't say brash, but he does have this sort of smooth talking, laid back cowboy vibe to him. And a lot of times when you have presidents who are kind of like that in TV shows or films, they do tend to be the stereotypical obnoxious brash Republican type. So the fact that he's actually just a grounded human being who's more likable than you first think he's going to be when you're introduced to him, it's almost like he just got in over his head. So we see in the flashbacks in this episode the contrast between him and Sinatra, how maybe she is so caught up in the whole project of the bunker and is doing it maybe for her own means, then she's not thinking about the possible drawbacks, the consequences, little details that then have to be, you have to make sure they're right if you're going to undertake such a project. So the president is talking about, well, do we have a remote in case something goes wrong and we need to switch the system off? And he's talking about the idea of having a remote control at home, like for your sound system or your TV, and it's again a cool little character beat. Then he's using these very casual, everyday examples, but applying it to like the bunker and to politics. So I think these flashbacks are important because of that, and you once again get a sense of Cal being a very humble, down-to-earth kind of fun type guy with some of like the sports references, and there's a good back and forth with him and Sinatra. So that stuff, although you don't necessarily need it, I think because of the stage we are in the present stuff, then I think that kind of makes it quite important. And there's some good tension within Sinatra's inner circle and what exactly is going to happen, because you've got her kind of caught between Jane and between Gabrielle, and Gabrielle plays quite a big part in this episode also, as she's already on Jane's sort of hit list, like to watch out for, and she actually speaks up in a meeting because it's when they're getting ready to negotiate with Link and his group who are outside the bunker, and because Jane was the one who made the first point of contact, she pushes herself forward for I should be the one to negotiate, and Gabrielle speaks out and says, well, no, because they've seen you, that makes you maybe not the ideal candidate to negotiate, and it's just her way to use a little bit of a pushback and a little bit of, she's doing it because of how dangerous Jane is and how unpredictable she is, but she can't really just necessarily come out and say that, so she's trying to put it in a way where she's giving a shot in the arm to the president, saying this doesn't make sense because of that. And then later on she goes, not the president, I'm almost, sorry, Freudian slip, but to Sinatra, to Samantha. And then she goes to Samantha later with her concerns, and it's like, because this has been a fascinating dynamic, because Samantha doesn't seem to know exactly what Jane has done. Like, she doesn't seem, I know some people seem to think that she gave the order to kill the last president, to kill Baines, but I don't think she did. I think that was Jane acting on her own. Like, Jane has her own agenda and is jockeying for power and position and getting close to the people she thinks can help give that to her. So Sinatra's playing a very dangerous game here, and that's something which Gabrielle says. And I love the little bit of humour when Gabrielle is like, she could kill me at any moment, and then Sinatra's like, she won't do anything without my say-so. And Gabrielle's like, well, that's reassuring. And you have this back and forth. And I guess this stuff leads to one of my only small complaints. And that's it. This is it for Jane this episode, or it appears to be, because we see her outside Gabrielle's house. She seems ready to kill her because she sees her as a threat, sticking her nose in the business. And she goes inside the house into the bathroom, can't find Gabrielle, and it turns out Gabrielle's laying in wait. Like, she's either caught her like spying on her house and suspected that this is what she's here for, or she's kind of been able to hide and then sneak behind Jane, and appears as though she kills her. And that's my one complaint, is that if Jane is dead, it just seems a bit rushed to me. Like, it seems that they'd built up a certain amount of suspense with Jane. They'd put quite a lot behind her, quite a lot in the backstory, And they just seem to be building to something really big with her, and I don't think we quite got all of that. Like, I think there's more they could have done with the character. Now, again, this could be a limitation because of only having 8 episodes a season, and if they're assuming that next season will be the last, then maybe these things are happening a bit faster than maybe they would have done if there was more episodes. And so that is a complaint, because I think there's definitely more they could have done with Jane. And I actually like Gabrielle being the one who takes her out in a way. Like, it's this funny sort of irony, because she's never this character who, at least not in season 1 and even season 2, like, she's definitely very savvy and smart and quite brave, but you never would have saw that coming from her. So I quite like the moment than it is her, the irony, than it is her who takes Jane out. But to me, it just seems a bit rushed. I think there is more they could have done with Jane, but who knows? I mean, when I see the bigger picture and how everything plays out, maybe I feel differently. But at the moment, it's just a complaint. Speaking of Sinatra, we get a little bit more with her daughter. And she's starting to work with, is it Presley? Yeah, Presley, Xavier's daughter. And they do seem to have got to this point quite quickly. I will say that, if that's a little bit of a complaint. I know some people have said that it's like, okay, it's one conversation and then a head has been turned. And I don't think it's so much one conversation. I think it's that she has been hearing things in the media, like maybe online, and certain rumours and rumblings. So I can kind of see how she's gotten to this point. Like, it maybe seems a little bit fast, but I think it's just because of the point of her helping Presley, like, hack into the system, and they see footage of the bunker and Sinatra in the bunker and all the rest of it, and how it all looks very suspicious. But I think I said last week, or one of the previous reviews, I think we're going to get something bigger with, like, characters like Presley, and I forget the name of Samantha's daughter, but probably her next season. Like, I could see, like, the teenage rebellion being a big thing next season. So the meat of the episode in this part of the story is the negotiations between Samantha and Link. And this is really good stuff, actually. And there's this quite unique use of pop culture in the scenes between the two of them, because he's enjoying his apple pie, which Jane said, okay, I'll get you some apple pie as a way to open negotiations. And he's almost playing games. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm enjoying this because I haven't had apple pie for so long. But he also uses it as a stalling tactic. He also uses it as a way of, I'm happy to play this out and make you wait for my demands. And at first he asks for, like, a nuclear reactor, and Sinatra calls his bluff on that, because she says no for obvious reasons, but she also says, I don't buy that you came here just for that. Like, it doesn't really make sense. And then he asks for Alex, and Alex has been one of the big mysteries of the season, something which got referenced all the way back at the start of the season. Alex, whether it's a person or whether it's maybe some sort of a machine operating system, which has been the speculation elsewhere, you get the impression that Alex may be something close or important to Link. And Sam just shoots him down. It's like, there's no way. And she's had that reaction a couple of times in the episode, because Gabrielle brought it up later or earlier in the episode, because she's been listening in to Sinatra and their conversations with Carmela especially, and Alex has been brought up, and yeah, no, she shoots right back at Gabriella as well. It's like a definite no, and she says no here as well. So by the end of the episode, they've reached a stalemate, and Link and his gang are ready to go in. But the big reveal or hint of a reveal is then it's the anniversary of Sinatra's. I flick between Sinatra and Samantha. I'll stick with Sinatra for now, but it's the anniversary of her and her husband losing their son, called Dylan. And I think they've confirmed he was dead, but apparently he died, and it's the anniversary, and you get some quite personal scenes between them, and then Dylan's like leaving, and there's this quite aggressive tone between him saying, he's ranting and raving about how he's gonna bleed Sinatra dry and put a stop to what she's doing to the world. It's at a point where he's getting, his frustration is getting out of control, and there's a worry then because Sinatra has got the guards around her, then one of them might shoot him, might take him out. So someone from his group is shouting to calm down and let's get out of there. He calls him Dylan, and this obviously gets a reaction out of Samantha. He asks when he was born, and he says 1977, which, because of her reaction, is obviously the right date for her son. And some people have speculated some sort of time travel, like maybe some of the show has been set in a different universe or a different or a different time scale or whatever it may be. That could be one reason. Another reason, it could be a coincidence, but it seems that it is a big reveal. It does seem that this may well be her son, so maybe something wasn't quite right with. Maybe she was lied to, maybe his death was faked. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but yeah, this is a big reveal, and it actually leads to quite a nice moment later in the episode, later on when she goes back home, and she says to her husband, I'm okay, and I have a feeling Dylan is as well. But assuming this is really a son, I mean, all this sets things up very nicely, because he's now more determined than ever to attack the bunker, to break in and go after Sinatra and her resources. The other thing I do quite like, is because I was talking about pop culture, is there's a whole thing about him talking about Star Wars and him referring to Sinatra as like Darth Vader, and as people will know, like Star Wars and the whole stormtrooper things, there is almost like a direct reference to the Nazis, like that kind of fascist type regime, and that's definitely how Link sees Sinatra and what the operation she's carrying out. But just the fact that you've got that twist in Star Wars, like Darth Vader being Luke's father, like one of the biggest twists ever, that can go to this stuff as well. Like, it's almost like Sinatra is the Darth Vader of Paradise in the reveal that Dylan probably is her son, unless it's just a coincidence or there's something else at play. But yeah, fun stuff. I think they handled that stuff pretty well. The only other big thing is then we get the emotional reuniting with Terry and with Xavier. Like, she comes running out, and at first she's with the other people from the train and they point a gun at him, but when he says he knows about the bunker and the rumours are true, and some of the things he says, and the fact that he's her husband, which she confirms, then they seem happy to like take him at faith and not go after him. And they start catching up and reuniting on things like their kids, but the big thing is that she wants to save Bean, because she says Gary has got Bean in the post office, and Xavier obviously tells her about the plan. And so the tension starts ranking up quite nicely. Terry insists to Xavier, I've got to be the one to go in and get him. And that makes sense, because she's the one who knows Bean, and probably because of the way Gary feels for her. If anyone can talk him down, it may be her. And you can understand why Xavier's on edge as well. So he's staking it out pretty much as she goes in, and he's watching them through like the barrel of the gun and has it pointed in Gary's direction just in case something goes down. And I'll tell you something, this is one nice subversion from this episode, and it's something the show has done quite well, I think, throughout. Is a lot of times in other shows this would play out in a way you would expect, like something would come to a head and, you know, Gary would get really frustrated and aggressive and would attack maybe Terry, and Xavier would take him out, or something like that would happen. Like it would almost be the predictable kind of climax of this sort of scene. And that doesn't happen here, which I really like. Now, they tease it, I think, on purpose to make you think, because he does get frustrated and bent out of shape. Terry tells Bean to go and wait outside while she talks to Gary, and Gary tells Bean to go to like the greenhouse, you know, because where they grow the vegetable and all that, which he does. But yeah, in the end, Terry is able to talk him down, and she agrees to kind of tell Bean that about him, like, and she says, I'll tell him about the guy who saved us, and they hug, and it's emotional, and I think this is quite emotional as well for Xavier watching, because I think he realises okay, they mean something to each other, and he's probably cotton on by now that Gary has some romantic feelings for Terry, but it's an interesting moment for Xavier as well, and I think it'll speak to his character that he's not going to make a big deal about this. The main thing from his point of view is that his wife gets out of there safe with the boy, and they can go on their way. But yeah, it's a very well handled scene. Now, I did expect it to take a dark twist with maybe Gary killing himself afterwards, like when Terry had left. But we don't see that, so I'm assuming that didn't happen. Now, whether they're leaving this Gary thing a little bit open and we might see him again, maybe next season, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I thought it was very well handled, and I did like the scenes with Xavier and Terry in this episode. I think they've got really good chemistry, those actors, and Sterling K. Brown seems to have chemistry with everyone, but those scenes were very well handled, so pretty tense also. So that's the episode. Good episode, good setup for next week's finale. I'd only have one or two like small quibbles, but I don't think they're massive. I mean, I guess the Jane one is pretty big, but you know, I'll wait and see how things play out before I really judge that. And definitely more to like than there wasn't. So some really good stuff in this episode, some good tensions and good dramas, one or two like nice quirky character beats as well. So that's the penultimate episode of Paradise Season 2. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. Like and subscribe. Share me out on social media. And I'll see you soon. I'll be back soon with the Season 2 finale. Let me know what if you've been enjoying this season. See you soon, guys.